Hey, I've got some thoughts for you this morning, and it's not all doom and gloom. Stay tuned. This is Restoring Word with LeAnne Freesemann. So today I want to talk about Israel and what's happening in the Middle East, and maybe not bring up a lot of scriptures, but maybe give you some perspective about what's really going on in the Middle East. Well, first off, the solar eclipse was really never about the end of the world or the rapture of the church. There's a lot of fear mongering out there on YouTube, okay? And I never said that at all. What I did say is this: it very clearly points to the connection of radical Islam. And when you look at the symbol for a solar eclipse, it's exactly what you see on all these Middle Eastern flags. It lines up. And I want to thank John Kilpatrick and the Church of His Presence and his special speakers who've done some incredible teaching lately on all of that. And honestly, I didn't know what to think about a lot of it, but it did get me thinking. And so before I sit down this morning to begin to really dive into all the work things that I have to do, I had testing right now and I'm home and it's lunch, and now I'm going to post all this stuff. But here's some things for you to think about, and it is upbeat. Israel will respond to what happened on Saturday when Israel is good and ready. Could that be in an hour? Sure. Could it be in a year? Sure. Could it be in 6 weeks? Yes. Could it be after Trump is elected? Maybe, maybe not. It matters on who is elected, right? The question is when. You know, the American economy really could be better. The border is an absolute mess. And in the left here in America, they really went out onto an extreme ledge with the weird kind of things we saw happening with who the leaders were putting in different positions of power. And it was like, what is going on in our country? The left went too far left, too extreme, and now what's happening is it's all kind of backfiring. And I generally don't talk about politics, but in this case I want to give my friends overseas a little bit of a perspective. You know, when you go too far, when the pendulum swings one way or the other, and the pendulum swings too far one direction, the momentum is going to pick up and it's going to swing back the other way. And I think that's what's going to happen. We'll see. I know one thing for sure: Americans and American women do not want their kids fighting in World War III. I don't want that. No one does. All right. Next thing to think about. You know, we've all known that there are Hezbollah camps down in Mexico. Shoot, we've known there's terror cells in America, right? But lately it's gotten kind of crazy with all these open borders. And the open borders is kind of serious. These radical people with radical agendas are definitely coming across our borders. We've had probably 7 million people come into our country. And guess what? Somebody's got to feed all those people. And taxpayers are kind of tired of working to pay somebody else's bills. And it's backfiring. And Americans want change. Back to Hezbollah. Is it possible that America could see our own horrific terrorist attack here soon? Yes. Man, I would really pray in the next 6 months to a year before you go anywhere. There's been some awesome opportunities that have opened up for me to travel, but I'm just hesitating. I really want to hear from heaven before I do something, and I think that's probably a position of wisdom for all of us right now. There's just too many strange things going on, and I do think that Hamas and Hezbollah they're going to try to pull something on all of us. Okay? But the good thing is, unfortunately, if there was a terrorist attack, you know what would happen? The American people would really wake up. I think they're really starting to wake up. Recently, Dr. Phil did a interview with one of the Hamas leaders' sons, and the guy's name is Mossab Youssef. And he really got on national television and kind of really expose the real heart of what's going on with Hamas and what the intentions are. And I think you have to hear it from someone who was born and raised in it. You have to hear it. Don't let somebody politically spin this. What is it about people right now in America when they're not Christians? They've got to have an issue. They've got to have a cause to stand up for. When you don't have, when you're not standing up for Jesus, when you're not standing up for the kingdom, you got to find something to give you purpose in this life. And I think a lot of the very liberal organizations in our country who kind of thought that maybe their cause could be Gaza and Hamas and the poor Palestinians, well, you know what? They kind of found out some things about radical Islam that they probably weren't expecting. Anyway, if America were to have a terrorist attack like 9/11 or worse, and this one coming next I think will probably be worse, it might be a good thing. That's sad and twisted, I know. I think it's really interesting that this whole thing exploded before the Abraham Accords. Do you remember that? Don't forget it. We were on the verge of peace in the Middle East, and then something had to trip that up. They had to stop it. Remember, the attack on the Jewish people happened right when we were on the verge of having peace. So maybe you should pay attention to that. And no, a two-state solution will not work. You can't take that kind of hatred out of someone's heart. You just can't. And also, you can't take that out of someone's heart when they have theological beliefs pertaining to the return of the Mahdi and the 12th Imam. Guys, they're trying to make the 12th Imam, who comes back to earth at a time of great chaos, they're trying to bring him back. Yeah, the hidden Imam who's been dead for 2,000 years. They're serious about this. Don't believe me? Go hunt up the video clip with Ahmed Ahmadinejad addressing the UN, and you'll see that it's for real. Okay. Is all of this a bad thing? No, maybe not. You know why? Because it's time in America that we take Sharia law seriously, that we study it, that we see what is the Islamic agenda. We want freedom of religion, and we can live in peace along our brothers and sisters who believe something completely different than we do. And that's what we want, okay? But to think that you're somehow going to bring Sharia law to America when we have a Supreme Court and a Constitution, that's very naive. Won't happen. Okay? Won't happen. I'm going to post a link to an article by Avner Boski, who's done an extensive study on Sharia law, and I recommend that you print it and that you study it. So what other good things are happening right now? Well, actually, quite a bit. Have you really thought about the positive side to the war in Ukraine? Well, there is a positive side. They've gone through a lot of their weapons, a lot of their munitions. They say that 450,000 men have died, and I think it's a lot higher than that. I think that's a meager number. It's probably closer to 750,000. The Russian military, if you really kind of study what they're doing, like, they look weak. They look antiquated. I mean, when you watch the news reports, you're thinking, what? Really? These are supposed to be this superpower? Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, they're also finding out that Russian people are not in a big hurry to go to war. They don't want to fight. Do you blame them? There was a post I noticed on one of the Israel groups that they're warning Israelis, don't go to Russia and visit your family because they might make you stay and serve in the Russian army. That's for real. Pretty crazy, huh? Another really good thing that's happened, and it's a really upbeat thing pertaining to Russia, is the rise of Starlink, Elon Musk, and Twitter. And because of what Musk did with Twitter, we now have the restoration of freedom of speech. And guess what? The Russians can access news channels like Twitter through the World Wide Web. Why do you think they're trying to shut down World Wide Web access in these communist-controlled countries? They want to shut down freedom of speech. And freedom of speech is how corruption gets exposed. And guess what? That's a good thing. Another good thing that's happened is in the last 4 years, our corrupt media in America has been exposed, and that's a good thing. The only people that are watching CNN and Fox News are people that are 55 and older. Both sides of the extreme media war have been exposed for fraud, and we have a rise of what we call the podcaster. And who could have ever imagined people like Valuetainment with Patrick Ben-David and Joe Rogan? Man, who could have ever expected that would have risen in America? But when these podcasters have more credibility than CNN and Fox News, by the way, CNN is down to 55,000 viewers a night. That's how bad it is. They're a joke. All right, so what else is a good thing? So I think that's kind of a good thing, you know? I was watching the attacks of Iran and all the news feed on my phone. It's lighting up, boom, boom, this happening. We're seeing all these missiles going off, and I'm thinking, my God, these people have gone through missiles and drones like the Conways do during their 4th of July blowouts. And guess what happens? We go through all the fireworks, and then everybody looks at each other and says, who's going back to the fireworks stand to get more? My first thought was, how in the world is Iran going to replenish these drones and all of these missiles? Half of them didn't even fire. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Maybe it's a good time to go in there and take them out when we've got half their stuff gone. I mean, I don't know what's left, but it's a good way to look at it, right? All right, so what else is cool through all of this? Well, I do love the Iranian people, and I love the Persian people, and I'm thankful I've had the opportunity to speak life into the Iranian, the Persian women over the years. But I do think it's time that those people that are free in Iran, the Christians, the believers in the underground churches, they want freedom. They want to worship the way they want to worship. And you know what they've discovered? Is that this whole Islamic religion that is calling for the death of people, maybe that's not a good thing. And maybe there's another answer. And that, my friends, is a good thing. We need to pray for the underground church in Iran. They're vibrant and they're alive. Well, what's another good thing to think about? Well, there's a lot of things in the last, really since the last election, that have been exposed. The Chinese agenda has come out front and center. We've seen the whole fentanyl explosion of the Chinese are just sending drugs across the border, hoping that Americans will self-destruct. And unfortunately, many of them are. It's devastating. Addiction here in our country is sad, and it's out of control. And as a special ed teacher, people do that kind of thing when they're in pain, emotional and spiritual pain. What they need is Jesus. We've also seen this explosion of what the Chinese are doing across the border. Not only are the Chinese buying up farmland in America, the Chinese are also buying up very valuable assets in Canada. I don't like how the Chinese are buying up farmland thinking that somehow maybe they can control the food supply. No. In Oklahoma, we've stopped that. It needs to be stopped nationwide, period. If you want to come in, you want to buy land in America, you want to make money off American assets, well, guess what? You are going to be taxed. Welcome to America. Another thing that's good is over the course of several years, when I say the World Economic Forum, people don't look at me like I've lost my mind. they kind of now know what I'm talking about, especially when presidential candidates are bringing it up in debates and conversations. That's a good thing. Another good thing that is being exposed is that Americans are realizing that other nations and other influences are trying to get America to divide against itself. If you can't use the media to divide America, well, let's just stir up something else where we can get them to fight each other. And you know what? Hollywood has even gotten in on it. They're creating a movie about a civil war in America. The power of suggestion is real, okay? Unfortunately, I think in Hollywood's case, the American people are starting to say, you know what? You people are sick, and things are being exposed. And that, my friends, is a good thing. All right, what else is a good thing? Well, we are seeing the emergence of some pretty exciting leadership, because if we were to have some form of a civil war, then who's going to be our Abraham Lincoln? Who's going to be the person that holds the Union together? I don't know, but I have people I believe in, and I'm watching closely, and one of them is a Navy SEAL in Florida who happens to be an attorney. That's a man I think we all can believe in. And next time around, 4 years from now, I certainly hope he's a candidate. All right? And that, my friends, would be a good thing. Probably the biggest win lately, honestly, if you really look at what is the big win for America, no doubt it's freedom of speech. And here's why. Never underestimate the intelligence of the American people. Never underestimate how they will perceive things once they have the facts in hand. Not the propaganda, not what someone's trying to spoon feed you, but they really know the truth. That's why nobody trusts the media anymore. That's why podcasters are exploding worldwide. People just want truth, and they don't want it spun one way or another. Another great win right now is what's happening amongst young people. I believe in this next generation with all of my heart. But you know what? Sometimes people don't wake up until they have to pay income taxes. And then all of a sudden, when they're paying income taxes and they're realizing, oh my gosh, I've gone to school and I've made all this money, and I went into debt so I could make all this money, and now I'm making all this money and I got to pay it all back to the government in the form of taxes. Yeah. It stinks, doesn't it? Taxation is ridiculous. On top of that, everything is up. Food, rent, cars, mortgages. Hard-working people right now with awesome credit can't afford the American dream. And you know why? Interest rates. They're out of control. What are our young people going to do? They're like, wait a minute, I can't even afford to buy a home because of the interest rates. Something's got to change. They know that this inflation that's happening, and that there are some economic repercussions, okay? It's starting to kind of hit home. People are waking up, and it's a good thing. Last but not least at all, the fear-mongering in YouTube has got to stop. I mean, it's to the point now where I'm just like, I scroll through and I'm like, keep going. No, that's stupid. I look at the thumbnails. I mean, just look at the thumbnails, people. Do you see the kind of junk that's out there and how people just, fear. I got to click on it. I got to see what it is. It's ridiculous. Okay? All of that stuff has to stop. Quit clicking on it. Quit forwarding it. Eliminate your subscriptions or whatever, and don't listen to it. That being exposed is a good thing. And last but not least, the best thing I think that's coming, the exciting thing that's coming, I believe we're headed for one of the biggest outpourings of the Holy Spirit that we've ever seen. There's a hunger for it. There's people are wanting it more than ever. The outreaches and evangelism, it's exploding worldwide. We're finally able to really preach this gospel worldwide. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a good thing. All right, I'm going to cut this off for today. Have a wonderful day.